Hello, today's tutorial, we will be building an EC2 instance on AWS. One of the questions that I get quite a bit is how to start learning AWS, how to learn Linux. And one of the top questions is, after I build it, how do I connect back into my machine? Well, that's what I'm going to review today. So we're here in the AWS Management Console, and it's very simple now. You have this window at the beginning, and it'll even tell you how long it takes to do something. So let's say we want to build an EC2 instance. This is your virtual machine. We click on that, and it starts taking us through the process of building your EC2. And the first thing you do is you choose an AMI. And let's just do very simple, go with the first one. So we're going to select this one, and we're going to start building it. And it's very, very simple. If you don't want to spend any money, you could just pick this free tier eligible. And it tells you the amount of virtual CPUs and memory that's there. But if you notice down here, you could just review and launch right away. You don't even have to go through the next steps, but let's just take a look at it. So you configure instance details, how many instances you want. You can select spot instances, and basically that just means that Amazon is letting you build with their surplus. So it's a supply and demand type of thing. And you could just specify how much money you want to spend for a spot instance, but we're not even going to do that. So right here, it gives you the prices, and you just say, hey, this is the most I want to pay, kind of like an eBay type thing. But you don't even have to do that. This is a free tier. I would recommend doing that if you want to play around with something bigger than the free tier. And you could select anything here, your subnets and etc., and what you want to do. I would say this one is probably my top one to look at. The default is good enough, and it tells you what happens here. If you stop or shut down your instance, what happens? The default is that stops, but you can select terminate. But you really don't want to do that, because if you're working on something and you say, hey, I'm going to continue tomorrow or whatever, let me just stop this because I haven't set up the firewalls, I don't want anybody messing with it, you want to stop. But if you terminate, you're going to lose everything you've worked on. Anyway, some of the details here, we don't want to get into too many details with this video. But then you can click next to add storage. If this is not good enough, it comes with 8 SSD, but you can add a new volume, etc. You could choose to encrypt or not encrypt. Next, to add tags. Next, to configure your security group. And now you get to the point where you could review and launch. Okay, but we're not going to do that. I'm actually going to go to the previous tabs. Previous. Just want to go all the way to the beginning to select it. And demonstrate that you selected T2 Micro. You could just click review and launch right here and launch. And here's where you want to select your key pair. I already have one, which I call AWS tutorial, but you can create a new one right here. You can say create a new key pair, and this you need it to log back in from your local machine. Okay, and AWS puts this acknowledgement here that you have this key. The thing is, if you don't have this key on your local machine and in a safe place, you will not be able to get back into your EC2 instance. Okay, so they make you acknowledge that you have this key. Smart thing is create it, save it. But I'll show you also that there is a nice way to get back into it. If this is your account and you have the AWS console access, and you can just get back in it. I'm going to show you that in a second. So we launch the instance. And we click here, you get these warnings. Yeah. Not actually warnings, but just little notifications there. And now we have our EC2 instances. I had created one earlier and it's still in a terminating state or terminated state. And see, this already changed to running. That was very quick. We can click on this instance. Okay. And you will see up top right here. So you get your private IP address, public IP address, and DNS entry. But we'll go over here because we want to go inside this Linux. I mean, because you can't do really anything with it right now. So you have to connect. And this is what I was referring to. You have this dashboard. But before we go in there, this is where you would use the key. You would go to your SSH client, and this is just giving you instructions on what to do. So it tells you, open your SSH client, you locate your private key that you downloaded, and you have to do a change mod to it 400 or else it's not going to work. And I believe this is where a lot of people have an issue. They forget to do this and they say, it's not working, I can't connect back to it. Okay, and it gives you the complete command right here. You see? And now with Windows 10, you have an SSH client by default. So a lot of tutorials out there tell you to get PuTTY or some other type of SSH client. But now in Windows 10, you have it by default from the command line. So you could just run it from here. You copy this. Well, make sure you do all your steps first, then copy this and run this command. But there's an even easier method, EC2 Instance Connect right here. It gives you the instance ID, everything. You don't even need that information. You just click connect. It opens a new tab for you. And that's it. You entered your Linux EC2 instance, and it even tells you what you need to do. The first thing you should do is run these updates. You do sudo yum update and you let it run. And that is it. Your machine is up and ready. So now the next step would be to install an application, and probably the easiest thing to do is either Apache or Nginx or something else that you can play with. But this is your first introduction to an EC2 instance that you're running on AWS. This is probably the first thing that you will do when you open up your account on AWS, and this is how you connect back to this instance. Well, I hope that this video has clarified a few things for you, especially on how to connect back into your VM, your EC2. And I will be creating more videos for you and probably run a small series on AWS, a little bit more details on EC2 and RDS and several of the other applications that AWS offers. And just want to mention one last thing about this dashboard here, or the EC2 console. Throughout my time with AWS, this changes, and it's changed frequently. So this is October 2020. It might be different by the time you watch this, and I like the changes that they've made, but sometimes it can cause a little confusion if you're used to one method and then don't come back to it for a while and realize that there is a new dashboard. But please subscribe to my channel and the videos. I will continue to provide some training and some of the gotchas that I come up with and I've overcome, and also some of the questions from the clients that I work with.